readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today myself, Will, and my brother Ed are going to be talking about what we read during the month of November, the penultimate month of the year, isn't it? So sometimes it slows down towards Christmas. It seems Ed just accelerated upwards, while I thought I'll just stop down and have a little rest from reading for a little while. But we still read a few books each. And Ed, how many pages did you read during the month of November?
3,191.
Very nice, very nice.
What about you?
2,440.
Nice.
And you read 7 books?
7.
And I read 4 books. So there's the stats out of the way. Now we can talk about the booksies themselves.
Are you okay that the stats are all gone now?
Well, as long as they're out there. But
we'll
now,
do our number one read.
The beauty is now everyone knows the stats.
Is that what you find beautiful?
It is pretty beautiful, isn't it? But we'll talk about Book of the Month, as always, later on in this video. But first up, of course, let's talk about the books.
Let's get down to business. The first one for me was Boosh, R.F. Kuang's The Dragon Republic. This is book 2 of the Poppy War trilogy, and boy, this had me really conflicted, this book. It built on what the Poppy War did so well. In a good or bad way? Probably both, I think. Conflicted as in... Do I hate it? Do I love it?
You don't even know yourself. Yeah.
I still don't know. It was the first book
They're quite
I read
interesting,
this month,
them ones, aren't they?
And I still am not too sure on where I stand on it. At some points, the book was absolutely fantastic, and at other points, the book was really testing me and really pushing me into areas that I haven't really been for a while, where it was just hard to read. I think the plot of The Dragon Republic was good. I think the Poppy War, my favourite aspect of it was Rin kind of becoming this new character that, you know, she was letting kind of the beast within her, if it were, out. And this book is about kind of controlling that beast, and also, you know, people using her for their own gain. And I really like that aspect of it. There are some sequences here that I didn't like as much. Some of the characters weren't quite as distinct as in book 1, and I think Rin's character was less interesting than she was when she had those kind of subtleties, and also those vast differences in book 1, how she was changing character throughout. So her growth is a lot less in this one, I believe. And to me, it just wasn't as an engaging read. The ending of book 2 is pretty much how the ending of book 1, sorry, is pretty much how book 2 continues to go for a very long time. But also, the plot went in some very interesting directions. Some that were very interesting, others not. As you can tell, I still really don't know how I feel. I'm just going to kind of, you know, meander and ramble about how I really don't understand.
And that's what we're all about.
I think I gave it 3 stars because I'm just going to sit in the middle until I've made my actual mind up, which I don't know.
That's a good idea.
I think it might change when I read book 3. We will see how it sits, but I'm definitely going to read book 3 next month.
So yeah, I enjoyed Poppy War. You enjoyed it more than me, so it'd be interesting what my thoughts on book 2 are.
I think what I loved about it was how, you know, the Rin's character went very dark, and the tone shifted, and I did like that shift. But I think where book 2 maybe didn't hit the mark for me was the fact that the characters felt a little unbelievable, whereas you didn't like how kind of the set pieces and that kind of stuff felt unbelievable, and that what happened, what the characters were able to do. For me, it felt like maybe the characters were being a bit silly,
right?
And I was like, you can't be the best thinkers in your country and just arguing about pointless, stupid stuff all the time. It just didn't felt. It just felt unbelievable at times.
Yeah.
That's very crazy for a fantasy book, isn't it?
But before we carry on, I have a very serious thing to talk about. Ed is becoming known as the funny brother, and I cannot just let that stand. And I just told a brilliant joke, and you just crushed it, didn't you?
I was trying to be you. I was trying to be on the straight and narrow.
I never ignore your jokes. You said I don't know where I stand.
We get comments saying that that I told a great joke and you didn't notice.
Do you feel good when that happens?
As long as I make myself laugh.
Yeah, to be fair, that is the main aim.
I am my audience.
That is the main aim. But anyone who's behind me, please comment that I'm the funny brother, because Ed's been called the handsome brother and the funny brother. I mean, he can have one, but not both, okay?
You're the number brother.
It's going to go... Oh, brilliant. It's going to go straight to his head, okay? So this is for his own good, honestly. But
That's why I've got no hair, because it all went straight to my head.
It's straight to your head. But now, back to, obviously, the good stuff. Now we've got past that very serious point.
Let's get back to the good stuff.
Let's get back to business, in the words of Library of Alexandria. He will never be Alan to me. He'll always be Library of... The Alan. Library of Alexandria.
Let's get down to business, not back.
Let's get down... Did I say back? Mulan
so now,
would be so disappointed.
You're not only the number brother.
I'm the wrong brother.
The idiot.
We love each other so much. Next up, I have Fire and Blood. It is Fire and Blood, yeah. Fire and Blood by George R. R. Martin. So this is a prequel which he kindly wrote instead of carrying on with A Song of Ice and Fire.
He's the best. Best procrastinator.
The story,
where, he literally will do anything but revise
Yeah.
or something. He's like, why would I write the rest of Game of Thrones when I can write about the history that no one no one was going to care about until
House of the Dragon, which I watched with Popcorn and really enjoyed it. But anyway, procrastination is like when you're having your exams and you read how many Mark Lawrence books?
3.
In like 3 days.
Yeah,
instead of revising.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fire and Blood, I thought it was very enjoyable. That I thought the beginning was really great. It did get to a point where the history is a bit repetitive. A Targaryen committed incest and Westeros didn't like it, so they revolted. And then one side won, and then 10 years later someone else overthrew them.
That's a good summary.
And then they committed incest again, and so on and so on. But yeah, so it was really interesting. Aegon the Conqueror.
All the names was Aegon or something.
Yeah,
Aerys.
Every single Aemond, Aegon,
Snares.
But yeah, it was really interesting actually. There are parts that are a bit dry, but the good parts were really, really good.
So was it like the Silmarillion but for Westeros?
Oh, see, never make me compare to the Silmarillion.
Was there
the Silmarillion made me cry.
Oh yeah, because that's great.
I would say this is probably it's going to pay me a bit more consistent in terms of tone.
Okay.
But the Silmarillion, the highs are so high they hit the sky, and.
Right,
when did I become so cheesy? When did it happen, Ed? But anyway, Keats, did you call me? As in Keating or John Keats?
John Keats.
Nice.
Mr. Keating.
Yeah, Mr. Keating. The Poet Society, if you're an English teacher, you obviously wouldn't be Mr. Keating, don't you?
Yeah, apart from the ending. Obviously, you don't want to be sad.
We never bring up. You don't want to be... Spoilers for the 35-year-old film, Ed. It is 1986, isn't it?
Sorry, hang on.
1987, actually, I believe. But anyway, yeah, that is Fire and Blood. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Not great the whole way through, but enjoyed it.
And the next one for me was American Tabloid by James Ellroy. And I really like the style of writing that James Ellroy employs here. He's very famous for LA Confidential and the LA Quartet. I was thinking, well, this book is about, since 1958, John F. Kennedy is on the rise to presidency, and this book is about kind of all the key characters that come into play during that. So very politically driven, and I realised pretty quickly after I started reading it that I don't really care for that time of history, and it didn't actually interest me one little bit.
Iota.
Yeah, exactly. So what started off as quite an interesting read then petered into lots of to and froing and backstabbing and phone calls and faxes that I didn't really care about, and that is not because James Ellroy is not a good writer, because I really enjoy his style of writing. This is my first book by him, and I will read more, but I don't really know much about.
Do you think someone who does enjoy and know a bit more about the period would really enjoy it?
I think someone who has a good foundation knowledge of the politics and the toing and froing and all the key characters that come into play here will definitely enjoy this, because it's well paced, it's well written, the characters are very unique, but at the same time it just didn't connect to me, and I found it hard to really engage. It took me a long time to finish it, which isn't the case usually for me. So I'm sorry, James. I will read some more of your books soon, but I won't be reading this one again.
I'm sure that has really deeply affected the...
I don't know if he's still alive anymore.
Author.
But
is he not? To be fair, when were they written?
A long time ago.
Did Dan Jones not say you listened to his podcast?
Maybe.
So
he's probably
maybe it's someone else. But anyway, next up... Well, actually, you've read loads more books than I have. Yeah, name drop. Well,
I think it's where maybe Joe Abercrombie said actually.
You do say that in our videos quite often, actually.
Yeah, but obviously I'm going to.
It's worthy of the name drop.
How many other people have spoken to Joe Abercrombie? He called Dad a bastard.
He did. Do you want to tell the story of why?
Because Dad had
it wasn't
a
just
big beard.
No, why did he do it?
Because Dad won the Morningstar Award for David Gemmell.
And Joe Abercrombie was in a shortlist but didn't win it.
Well,
was it Liza Lamora won it?
Or was it Brent Weeks?
Might have been Brent Weeks. Were they all out in the same year?
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe. Next one for me was Catherine Arden's The Bear and the Nightingale, which is probably one of the first and foremost historical fantasy books in this new age of fantasy. I think that has been written.
Yes.
And it is the story of the early medieval period in Russia, and there are lots of Russian mythology and folklore, and also Viking Age myths kind of thrown in here as well. So one thing that I really liked about The Bear and the Nightingale was how the mythology was the backdrop for the history, and that this was a real lived-in world. It was like reading historical fiction, but a little bit of the magic, a little bit of the history, a little bit of mythology was in fact real, very real to the characters, very real to the story, and I really enjoyed that. I wasn't a big fan of the prose. I think the prose pulled me out of the story quite a bit. I did listen to this in audio, and quite a few people have said to me that the audio version is not the best version of this book, that you should read it physically. So I'm thinking I will probably reread it physically in a few months, perhaps maybe next year, because I really want to like the series, and I love historical fantasy, and I'm really interested to see how it goes. And now maybe I know the story and all the names and all the mythology a bit better, that I will enjoy it more on the second read, because there is a book in my list here that was a reread, which I didn't enjoy the first time over, but I loved the second time. So hopefully that will be the case here. But I'm sorry, I didn't love it. But I think it's probably because the audio wasn't very gripping, and I don't think sometimes it's not about the performance, that your prose doesn't actually gel with audio. I've tried to listen to David Gemmell audio, it doesn't gel, I don't think. So I think there are just some authors, it's just, everyone's different writers.
That's what I'm holding on to, because I was deeply saddened, especially as I had this overwhelming confidence that you were actually going to love it.
This is
so those
the first book that we thought that that you recommended and sucked. No, I'm joking, it didn't suck.
Well, it's the first one you didn't love.
Yeah, first one I didn't love.
The end of an era.
But I'm sure I will love it in the future, because quite a few of my fellow Goodreads same kind of tone lovers love it.
Tone lovers. Very nice. Another book from you.
Another one? No, you didn't.
Oh, to be fair, you've done two in a row. I have Carrie by Stephen King, his debut, the one that launched him onto a super career.
It's called Drop. Carrie.
Oh,
Drop.
Right. That was very slow for me. Nicely done. It was a good one. I do respect that one.
Thank you.
And it deserved more laughter. I failed you there. But yeah, Carrie, really enjoyable.
Failure as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's to add to the list of titles. So at least I've got one. But
King of the Andals, first of his name, the
failure. But Carrie, I thought there were brilliant parts to this. I thought it was a bit over-stylized, which is something I wouldn't usually think of when it came to Stephen King. He's usually very accessible, and it's a lot of his simple approach. Well, not simple approach, but he gives it in a very, as I said, accessible way, which adds a lot of depth. But I thought it was a bit... It's jumping from like 3 different timelines to different people, and sometimes it was just a bit much because it's in such quick succession. Like, let me try and find something which really proves the point. It goes from like someone talking to a different location to then an interview with the different names and the different names. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit too much, so I felt a bit thrown off, and it certainly didn't make this a bad book. I still really, really enjoyed it, and the highs were absolutely sensational. And that sense of dread, which slowly but surely gets more intense as you carry on, was just executed brilliantly. And we have watched. There's a Carrie prank.
Parody prank.
Yeah, and it's so funny. If I remember, I will put it in a link to it in the description below. And it's about them setting up a tea shop for the day, and it's to advertise the film. A coffee shop, a coffee shop for the day. But no one knows this is to advertise the film Carrie. And it's so funny what they do. But yeah, that is Carrie. Really enjoyable. The ways that Stephen King just makes you love or hate characters so quickly whilst making them believable and not caricature. It's astounding. There's no other way to put it. He's in the top 3 authors for characters, in my opinion. And yeah, he's famous for a reason.
Yes, he is. And the next one for me is a reread. Now, I have been reading through the Border Trilogy by Cormac McCarthy. I was going to read Suttree.
That's a lovely addition.
Thank you.
You can't.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? But I was going to read Suttree, but then I decided I just wasn't going to. I don't know why. I just keep going to read it and then I don't. So maybe that's for a reason.
Maybe it is for a reason.
But the Border Trilogy, I started reading All the Pretty Horses, and I'm now onto The Crossing. But All the Pretty Horses I read when I first read Cormac McCarthy a couple of years ago, and it was the first book I read after Blood Meridian. So I'm sure you can you can see what my expectations were lying, because I went from Blood Meridian and then thinking this is going to be like Blood Meridian,
and that is like
but maybe a little bit darker, and then obviously it wasn't that, not even the same tone. Still Cormac McCarthy's lovely writing, but a lot more focused on kind of character growth and also more of an accessible story. So I was a bit shocked, disappointed, upset, really heartbroken that there wasn't many decapitations. But All the Pretty Horses on this read was fantastic. I love the detail paid. If you like horses, you're going to love this, because it really is all about a character and his connection to horses. And I love that this period of America, which is just after World War II, but it still feels like the Wild West is the Wild West, because it hasn't progressed too much over time, because it's still not very populated. This character, John Grady, and he goes down to Mexico and becomes a vaquero, so basically becomes a cowboy, but for horses, and he's taming horses, and then he falls in love, and it is a romance, but it's also a story about forbidden romance, and it's very well done. I think Cormac McCarthy is a fantastic writer, and he really does here come into his own with being able to grow characters from the beginning to the end. He's got a masterful approach to dialogue, and I think the way he uses his words, it creates such a vivid picture so well, and he is the best writer to write about this landscape of America, those southern states, that southern gothic kind of style as well, writing reminiscent of Faulkner. It is breathtaking, and I think Cormac McCarthy is the best to do it. So I absolutely loved All the Pretty Horses. I'm reading The Crossing now, which is book 2 of the Border Trilogy, and I'm absolutely loving it as well. That's actually my favourite one out of the both of them so far. And hopefully book 3, which is, I cannot remember what, I think it's called Cities of the Plains, will be even better.
Very nice said. It is interesting how much expectations alter the reading experience, isn't it? Like I remember Philip Chase and AP Canavan did a chat about The Northman together, and they both, if I remember correctly, enjoyed The Northman.
Yes.
But they said that the advertisement of the film, the trailer, was very different from
things like Gladiator.
Yeah, and it was just a very different tone when you got in there, which they said at first it took them a little while to adjust to what this new film was. And whilst they still enjoyed it, as you said, with All the Pretty Horses, you were expecting a completely different book. So it is interesting how that really changes our opinion of books, and it's not just about the content.
Yeah, 100%.
So you better enjoy The Bear the Nightingale when you read it next time. Next up, I have Babel by Ira Kuang. So, sorry, Ed.
No, you go for it, mate.
Thank you.
And early brother as
Babel,
well.
Early brother. So Babel, yes, I read The Poppy War and I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I had big problems with it. I'll still carry on with the series. I didn't dislike it as such. No, wait for it. Babel, I absolutely loved. And this is Historical Fantasy, the new release by Ira Kuang, possibly the biggest fantasy release of the year. Don't say pages. Don't say how many pages. It's pretty chunky, actually. To be fair, it's got only 500 pages.
What?
It's the only genre where you would say only 500.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and it's not the biggest book you've read this month, is it?
Probably not, actually.
Well, you read Fire and Blood, so.
And I think there's something else which might be even more. So, yes. Did you say nice?
I said yes.
Oh, yes, right.
Nice.
Nice. But yeah, Baby, this is historical fantasy. It is about a boy of Chinese descent who is taken from China and taken to England and sent to the Oxford branch, Oxford University, their languages branch, which is called Babel, the Tower of Babel.
You recently did a video on Oxbridge, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Well, on Oxbridge applications, not about the language. Oh, on my new channel. Thank you, Ed. Thank you. Yay! Yeah. High five.
Oh, sorry.
Nearly left me there. But yeah, I did talk about my Oxbridge application process when I applied. Wow, 2 years ago now.
So you didn't go
crazy.
to Oxford, so what was it like reading about Oxford?
It was interesting, and it is.
Did it make you glad you didn't go there?
Well, to be fair, most of the people, it's in Victorian society, and a lot of the people are just really nasty pieces of work. So yeah, actually, this is about a boy who, whilst he absolutely loves Oxford in the sense of he adores study and he finds a sense of belonging, and he's got that friendship and camaraderie of those put in with him, he's also faced with this crisis of identity at the same time, and this conflict of conscience, as well as he knows what he is doing links to the magic system as it is historical fantasy. I won't say what it is because part of the joy of this book is unravelling the mysteries, and as I said, there's a conflict of conscience because he knows that what he's doing is fueling the British Empire, and a lot of that is so that they can assimilate other cultures and kind of dominate other territories across the sea, and obviously do what the British Empire did.
Classic Manifest Destiny.
Classic Manifest Destiny. But yeah, so there is very interesting how R.F. Kuang looks at that conflict of conscience, how you can love being somewhere but hate what is facilitating at the same time, and how that affects someone. So I just thought it was written beautifully.
Is it standalone?
Yes, it is.
So it's
I believe. There are points that she could pick up on, but it's wrapped up. So I do believe it's just going to be standalone.
Okay.
Yeah. So another reason to read it. There's not
what she's
enough...
doing after.
Yeah, I do wonder. Something that I will definitely be reading.
That's what we're always asking, isn't it? What's next?
What's next?
Never good enough.
Well, yeah, I know. The grass is always greener, isn't it?
Selfish human
The book
beings.
is always... I couldn't think of something. Bigger.
Not enough.
The book is never enough.
Like Babel. Cheesecake, there's never enough.
I'm not a fan of cheesecake. I do like lemon drizzle.
On that note,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of cheesecake. No wonder.
I didn't say it like that.
No wonder they didn't let you in at Oxford.
I've had to face those jokes for 2 years.
What uni are you going to next year instead?
Durham.
Durham Uni. So
Durham University.
Also like Harry Potter, isn't it? It's like Hogwarts.
Durham Cathedral was used in the Harry Potter films, and I'll be right next to it, so that's quite cool.
That is really cool. What part of it? What part of the films is it used in? Is it
Professor McGonagall's class.
Oh.
You know, when they're late.
They went all the way to Durham to film that.
They went all the way to Durham.
Well, dedication, isn't it?
That is dedication.
The next one for me is a Pulitzer Prize winner by Junot Diaz's The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde.
You loved this, didn't you?
No. Are you serious?
It's a joke.
Oh, okay. This is a book about a young Dominican-American boy called Oscar, and he... Well, this really conflicts me, this book, because the style was not my cup of tea. It was very kind of too self-aware. I think I loved all the kind of the pop culture references. Oscar is a consumer of sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture from throughout all of the ages. So he's a big geek like us, so I loved those bits when he was talking about that. But as a Pulitzer Prize winner, I felt like I had to work really, really, really hard to try and connect with this book. And I think it was just too all over the place. And it didn't have a theme that really resonated with me. And I think, it is a very sad book. It is a sad story. But I think it felt sad for being sad's sake. It felt like I read it and it was like, what's the point? Rather than feeling like I read it and I'd achieved something, or even feeling like, it was well done. And even though it's a very sad story, it was thought-provoking. It didn't feel thought-provoking. It just felt like it was there just for the sake of it, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to like it. Junot Diaz has a very unique voice, and at times his writing voice, it was so easy to fall into, and it really swept you along the pages. Other times it felt like I was actually fighting against the book to try and get through the pages. So it made me work hard. It conflicted me, and I wish I loved it more. But it wasn't for me. But I'm not upset that I read it. I'm glad that I read it. I'm glad because I wanted to read it for a very long time, and I'm learning more and more what kind of style of writing I enjoy, what styles just don't gel with me. I think on paper, obviously it's on a book, so it isn't paper. But on paper, this book would sound well up my street, but it just wasn't for me, which sometimes happens.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And I've had a couple of those the last couple of months, which isn't usually the case. But I'm trying to read books that are, are out of my comfort zone. It's not just fantasy, is it? So
it's not.
There we go.
Very nice, Ed. Do you want to do another one?
One book I listened to was Mark Lawrence's The Wheel of Osheim, and I think this possibly could be the best book of the Red Queen's War. I think this book is exactly what Season 8 of Game of Thrones should have been if it was written by someone like Mark Lawrence, who is a great writer. Of the trilogy, it is the finale of the trilogy. It was fantastic. It had those humorous moments. Jalen and Snorri's relationship grew even better. And I think that all of the payoffs were absolutely magnificent. The battles, the duels, the dueling with words, and the plot twists were so satisfying, and it felt like the first two books had built up so perfectly to book 3 that it was a fantastic finale. And this is definitely my favourite trilogy by Mark Lawrence so far, and I cannot wait to go on to Red Sister in December.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, Ed. I do need to read back, because I've done it in a weird way where I've read Red Sister and onwards. But I've not read the first two trilogies.
Yeah.
I'll be reading Broken Empire very soon.
If you like the Great Coats, you'll like the second trilogy.
Yep.
If you like anything that is very bleak, then you'll like the first trilogy.
What if I love both of those?
Well, Joe Abercrombie is a bit of a mixture, because he's very
humorous
funny.
As well.
I think if Joe Abercrombie was not funny and just hopeless, then it would be a bit different. No.
What do you mean?
No, just
he's pretty
Mark
hopeless.
Lawrence is
distinctive.
I couldn't compare it. Yeah,
distinctive. Very nice. I've got one more left, and it is. I might need help. Can you just momentum, because this is big.
2, 1.
Oh, I have Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill, the second instalment of The Bound and the Broken.
That is heavy. You
look how many pages it is.
Yeah.
So this is second instalment of The Bound and the Broken, and this is extra value, this book, because finishing that helped me reach the milestone of reading 100 books in an annual year for the first time ever.
Well done.
So thank you, Ed.
That is a nice book.
It is really nice, and there's going to be special editions at the Broken Binding.
Yeah, the Broken Binding special
with
editions
illustrations.
Are they for the subs, or are they for people to buy?
Nope. Yeah, they're for people to buy.
What?
There's still some available.
I thought they were subs.
Oh, no.
That's the Joe Abercrombie books are the subs, aren't they?
Yeah.
I haven't even got that first trilogy yet. I need to get it. Oh no, it's all sold out, isn't it?
I think they're all sold out.
Great.
You can.
I can look at yours.
I can. Yeah, you can look at my ones. But yeah, this was really good.
Does the Broken Binding do like if they've got damaged books? Can you buy them? Can you buy damaged ones?
Yeah, they have done that.
Have they?
Yeah.
I could just buy
for like lower prices.
The slipcase. I already have the books.
Just the slipcase.
Yeah, they must have some damaged ones.
No, of the first law.
Yeah, but it just looked nice there, wouldn't it?
It would look lovely. Maybe you can make a special request.
I'll message Matt.
You'll message Matt.
Yeah.
So this is the second installment of The Bound and the Broken. It's if you doubt the quality of self-published or indie fantasy books, then please try this, and I believe it will change your opinion.
I said book 1 was Aragon for adults. And I stand by that.
You do have some great one-liners, don't you?
I think it's Aragon meets Malice.
Oh, stunning.
Ooh,
stunning. But yes, so this is a great mix of traditional fantasy meeting those more modern elements that subvert your expectations, because it is not guessable at all. You cannot predict what is going to occur. It unravels before you in a way that just takes you in different and new directions, and that makes it very fresh. And it is a chunky chunker of a book, but it didn't feel like that.
And the audio bloke.
What a voice.
What a voice.
Imagine how cool you'd feel if you had that voice.
I don't know.
It's not just because it's deep. It's gravelly, isn't it? It's got authority, gravitas.
Yeah, and it goes right in.
It goes right in there. If he talked to me, wow.
What would you do?
Well, I would listen. I would listen. What are you laughing at? I would listen.
If he talked to me, I would listen.
I would listen
to.
Well, sometimes you can zone out, but I would never zone out.
Wow.
I mean, when Ed
we've
talks,
all learned a lot about you today. Well, no wonder you do yawn so much.
I do actually. He does actually make me yawn a lot. It's not an insult to you. I promise I can't control it. But yeah, Of Darkness and Light, really great read, and I would highly recommend it, especially for those who are wanting to try out some self-published.
So this is book 2, isn't it?
It is, and book 3 is coming out at the end of December, and there's 2 novellas.
Of War and Ruin.
Of War and Ruin.
Woo! What a title.
And the Blood and Fire, Of Darkness and Light, of War and ruin.
And the last one for me is a book that I read years ago for a Waterstones book club that we went to, and I was just like, oh, I wish I loved it, but I didn't. And also I'm scared of this animal. But
chapter 2... The reread.
Oh yeah, chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2 was good. Is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This book is the best evolution concept I've ever heard of, and it's fantastic. So essentially, humans have destroyed Earth. They're living on a spaceship like they are in WALL-E. Great film as well. And these scientists decide to kind of basically inject these monkeys with evolution, but then these monkeys plummet to the ground. They find a new planet. Basically, they send the monkey to the ground, and they're going to go to sleep like an alien, where they're going like cyber sleep for like a few thousand years, and then hopefully when they wake up, by the time the monkeys have then evolved through those thousands of years, they have because their evolution is sped up, that they have now harvested a planet that is safe enough for them to live on. They have to do no hard work. Pretty lazy, if you ask me.
Pretty lazy,
but also pretty clever. But the monkey landing goes wrong, and the monkeys, it just goes wrong, and there are some other animals that get evoluted instead. It's a verb.
Charles Darwin,
and they got Darwined the hell up. And these it's like the film Arachnophobia, but
are you scared of spiders
in space? Yeah,
but you loved these spiders.
It was fantastic, and I definitely think I know what my animal of the year will be when we do our Portia.
Portia, that's it.
So the book follows one segment which is with the humans, and the humans are at war with each other, basically, aren't they? There's two or three different factions that are all trying to vie for power up in space. Down below on the planet, there's another timeline which is all about the spiders evolving, and there's one spider called Portia, and it's like her line, so you got Portia 1, Portia 2
they're not called that.
No, exactly, but
descendants,
they're all called Portia because they're all from the same family tree, basically, aren't they? But it is fantastic seeing how they evolve, how they fight against the ants and the termites and all that kind of stuff, and how they how they grow their city, and all the civilization kind of eras that we have had on our Earth then is rapidly put into the spiders' worlds, and they get big, don't they? They get a lot bigger, and it is a lot of fun to read. So I think Adrian Tchaikovsky, he loves his insects, doesn't he? Must have had such a laugh
Shadows
writing
of the
this.
as well,
So it was absolutely fantastic. But I loved Children.
Do you think you'll read the sequel?
I definitely will read the sequel.
And the third one was just released, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Children of Ruin, and then
Children of Memory.
There you go.
There you go. And if you want, you can get a special edition from the Broken Binding.
Oh, it's got sprayed edges.
Oh, yes, it does, and it looks pretty snazzy.
Stunning.
Got any other books?
No, it's all for me.
We're all done then. So yeah, the channel, we hit 5,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
Not in November actually, so we'll talk more about that in our December video. But yeah, we hit the goal.
Yeah.
But everyone, thank you so much for watching.
Whoa, what are you on about, bruv? Book of the month, TV show.
Gosh.
Okay.
Gosh.
Book of the month for you.
I will choose. Oh, it is hard, but I will choose. Do we have to pick one?
Yeah.
I'll pick Babel by R.F. Kuang.
Babel.
It was brilliant, and it will go down in my favourites of all time.
Okay. And I will choose Children of Time because it's brilliant, and it will go in my favourite books of all time, probably.
You're such a thief.
But I also actually didn't like the spiders, so that does detract from it. But it was still cool.
It adds to it, actually.
Yeah.
TV show. So
William and Papa Gwyn watched House of the Dragon. I haven't watched it yet, so you can continue.
The first few episodes, I thought they weren't bad, but they weren't great. And then suddenly, it became exceptional. And one of the 5 episodes of that series were 5 of the best episodes I've ever watched.
True.
The political machinations, the twists and turns, the family dynamics, all on point. Just absolutely incredible.
Very nice. I look forward to you finishing it and actually, getting my teeth stuck into it. I look forward to finishing it, getting my teeth stuck into it.
That was an integral word of the
sentence.
Exactly,
yeah. It's like the Oxford comma. You can't miss it out. It's like, I want to eat grandma. I want to eat grandma. I want to eat grandma. And my favourite TV show this month was The English.
You watched that in December, Ed.
It doesn't matter, Will.
To be fair, we're recording a bit late.
Starring Emily Blunt and then Chaske Spencer, and it is about a woman in the 19th century, 1890, that her son has died and she is going to America to avenge his death and find the killer and then kill him, basically. And he is in Wyoming in America. And then she meets up with a Native American ex-Pawnee scout, Eli Whip, and that is played by Chaske Spencer. And the English is essentially Red Dead 2 with all the quirky characters mixed in with Lonesome Dove. It is absolutely fantastic, breathtaking, the best programme series I've ever watched. Maybe it's recency bias, but it's my favourite by far. It had me weeping in the last few episodes. It's only 6 episodes long, so it's just not long enough. But I absolutely love that period of America, as you know, and it was portrayed so fantastically. The director Hugo Blick wrote the script, fantastic dialogue, absolute genius cinematography as well, and I think it's one of the most beautifully shot TV shows ever. It looks like it's shot like a film, but it has the care of like a Robert Eggers film. Like everything is a reference to another, like another Western film or a Kurosawa film. It is absolutely fantastic. And the characters are just so easy to get behind, so easy to love. And I will be thinking about the English for a long time to come.
Well, if we weren't cheating, that would have been my programme of the month as well.
Oh, you liked it better than House of the Dragon? When did we finish Rings of Power? When did we finish that?
We do not finish it.
No, when did we finish it?
Well, I didn't watch the final episode.
When did we watch
that was in October.
Was it October? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. It's been a lot of fun. Sorry this video is a little bit late by a few days.
And a bit long as well.
But thank you for sticking with us. Truth and Courage from the Brothers Gwyn.
The Brothers Gwyn.
Ding, 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 ding.